This talk is a sequel to my reply to Levi Bryant's Post-Humanism and Lacan's Graph of Sexuation, and to Paul Ennis's comments on that talk. I recently read a post by Adam Robert on his blog Knowledge Ecology about the noetic wonder of the world as seen through what he calls Uexculian ontology. He doesn't explain what that is, but it seems to be an ontology that is both pluralist and takes into account the becoming of the world. So I think it's a gesture towards a diachronic, what I call a diachronic ontology. And we shall see in his future blog post or in his future book whether he goes further in that direction or not. Anyhow, I saw this post and I exclaimed, but this is exactly what is good about Avatar, despite the heroic wish fulfillment fantasy. Reflecting on why I liked the film and why Zizek scorned it, as does Levi Bryant, I decided that I could explain the difference of approach to the film in terms of Lacan's graph of sexuation, which is really great for explaining lots of things, as Levi Bryant has shown recently in respect to ontology, because it's such a really general schema. Zizek often interprets films by subtracting out any noetic alterity and just seeing the Oedipal drama. He stays for this sort of interpretation on the left side of the graph, that of transcendence and of Oedipalization. He focuses on the heroic wish fulfillment in the case of Avatar, just as he concentrates on the familial wish fulfillment in the case of War of the Worlds. I quote from his discussion of War of the Worlds in Defense of Lost Causes. Quote, "One can easily imagine the film without the bloodthirsty aliens, so that what remains is, in a way, what it is really about, the story of a divorced working-class father who strives to regain the respect of his two children. Therein resides the film's ideology, with respect to the two levels of the story, the Oedipal level of lost and regained paternal authority, the spectacular level of the conflict with the invading aliens. There is a clear dissymmetry, since the Oedipal level is what the story is really about, while the external spectacular is merely its metaphoric extension." Now, this is rather strange coming from a post-structuralist or post-post-structuralist philosopher. He takes the Oedipal level, the level of sameness and identity, as the level of what the film is really about, and he takes the level of alterity and creation of worlds as mere spectacular or metaphoric extension. So Zizek's monist reductive ontology can be seen in the assertion that in each case the Oedipal level is what the story is really about, relegating the alterity to the status of mere metaphoric gift wrapping. One sees the absurdity of this approach very clearly in a film like Avatar, where the world making and the alterity is the defining feature of the film, especially as Pandora is a planet of noetic abundance. So the question is the world making and the alterity a spectacular level or a noetic level? I claim that it's noetic creation. So in fact, to appreciate Avatar and many other science fiction films and novels, we must situate ourselves on the right side of the graph, that of immanence and the pluralist unconscious, something that Lacan knows virtually nothing about. Of course, if you leave out all that is difference and alterity, and dare I pronounce the word archetype, then all that remains is sameness, identity, and a stereotype. Faced with the awesome, marvelous, sublime world of Pandora, whose imagined existence is a devastating critique of our world, one ignores all the metaphorics and concentrates on what the film is really about. But the metaphorics of the film are what it is really about. This time, in Avatar, the alterity is not the hostile Martians of War of the Worlds, for in this film, we are the hostile aliens. But more radically, the alterity is an entire imaginatively rich and detailed world, a figuration of the unconscious as a whole, and no longer of the eruption of certain of its elements into our world, as the aliens were in War of the Worlds. The stance proposed in relation to the unconscious is more radical too. We are invited to go over to its images, its energies and values, not so much to save it, that is just a narrative foregrounding, but so as to save ourselves. So this is a schizoanalytic premise. We don't analyze the unconscious analyzes us. Science fiction is defined as the literature of cognitive estrangement, precisely because it explicitly constitutes itself by means of alterity, and so dwells on the right side of the graph. Imagine what Zizek would have said about the novel or the film June. The Oedipal drama is deliberately foregrounded, as is the heroic wish fulfillment. But the aim, in fact, is to deconstruct the hero and the Oedipal monomyth and to open us out onto a pluralist ontology, as the later novels make even clearer. In his Golden Path, this is a quote from Bob Bogle, in his Golden Path, Leto sought a divergence of futures. Divergence is itself the grand theme of God Emperor of June. Leto is determined to smash the human psychological need for an illusory universe in which all tales converge on a final big message. This theme is the climax of Herbert's original design from the early 1960s to obliterate the monolithic hero myth. So argues Bob Bogle. So I can only conclude on a positive note. Let's forget Lacan. Let's read more science fiction. Let's read Dune. Or, as Levi Bryant ironically advises, situating himself as usual on the left side of the graph, that of transcendence, but inadvertently giving useful advice to those on its right side, those who are the friends of immanence, go watch Avatar.